Okay, guys, I'm going to create what I perceive to be an extremely straightforward video, arguably, in which I'm going to talk you through categories of individuals who are authorities in the fitness and health consulting space. But in my opinion, something which most individuals in the fitness business mentorship space neglect or fail to pay attention to when educating others on how to build their own brands and businesses. So for context, if those of you watching this video don't know who I am, my name is Billy Harris. I've been running a health optimization service called Peak Health Systems for the last 8 years. It's a multi-7-figure business, and at this stage of my career, I've now worked with nearly 800 6- to 9-figure clients, including the likes of Imran Gadzi, Ryan Clogg, perhaps a few familiar faces on screen here on my Instagram as well. Many individuals operating very successful online education, e-commerce, software, real estate businesses, any business you can imagine. I've worked with the founder and CEO of, including clients who've done up to £16 million per month from software businesses. So I work with some really cool people, and that's a little bit of context about myself. Now, let's dive into the topic matter of today's video. In my opinion, as I addressed in the introduction, I believe it to be the case that many individuals in the fitness business mentorship space fail to address or pay attention to how authorities in the fitness and health space categorize themselves, or rather acquire an audience and build their brand. If we look at the fitness and health space as a whole, I personally believe we can categorize all individuals that occupy it, or at least the elite individuals that occupy those spaces, into 6 categories. They are either individuals that operate as medical professionals and doctors, individuals who work with notable clients, individuals who lean into the fame of others or topic matters, which of course have a lot of attention being driven towards them, or utilize humor, satire, and aggression to build their brand, individuals who have extreme expertise, and finally, individuals who leverage irrefutable proof to build their personal brands and therefore, of course, scale their businesses. Let's look at the first persona. And the reason why I'm addressing this also, I should give context, is because many of the individuals that I work with who are coaches who want to learn how I built my business and I help mentor them, they start posting content on YouTube or on any social media platform. They have an offer, which is a proven offer, and they work with a set niche of individuals and they're charging high ticket prices for their services. Everything's perfect in terms of alignment of their business from the foundation. However, in terms of the content they're producing, they're not facilitating viewership. In most instances, because either they don't have a particularly creative mind, and therefore in terms of their ability to create content, it's not great content, and they're developing that skill and refining that skill and putting in the reps. Another, of course, contributing factor is because they don't yet have a brand, they don't have an identity they're leaning into, and they can't categorize themselves in one of the 6 categories I referred to earlier of medical professional, individuals work with notable clients, an individual leveraging the fame or topic matters of others of notoriety, an expert, or a person with irrefutable proof. A lot of the guys that I start working with who want to build their fitness and health coaching businesses, they can't identify with any of those categories and therefore a very difficult time building their personal brands. So let's examine this. So a first example of category 1, individual that leverages their medical expertise as a medical professional or doctor is of course Dr. Mike. Now, again, unless of course you've been through medical school, you cannot leverage this category to build your personal brand. It's inaccessible to you. Only the likes of Dr. Mike can do so. However, if of course you have the opportunity to do so and you are a medical student right now and you're wanting to build a fitness and health education / coaching consulting business, lean into it. It conveys a huge amount of authority. And as a byproduct of that, if you choose to produce content on either Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever social media platform of choice you choose to leverage, you will gain attention very quickly. You have authority in your title due to, of course, your academic studies and your credibility in that regard. And therefore, provided there's a basic degree of quality in the content you produce in terms of production quality, you'll facilitate viewership and therefore, of course, acquire prospects and leads for your business, provided, of course, it's a viable offer and you will make money. Lean into it. If, of course, you're not a medical professional, you cannot do so. And therefore, you may want to choose one of the remaining 5 categories. The next category I'd like to address is an individual that's worked with notable clients. And I categorize myself within this category. I deem myself to be occupying this category. I've now worked with many individuals in the online business space who have significant personal brands, including Imran Gadzi here, who's a huge personal brand. And as a byproduct of that, I'm referred to as the individual that works with these people. I leverage their name, their social proof, the brand they've built to benefit my own business. And we can see that I've done this from the outset of my YouTube channel here. We can see this, the first upload being published 5 years ago. There were previous uploads, but they were crap. So of course I made them private. But yeah, as we can see here, I've leveraged the name and success of other individuals that I worked with from the outset of my career, and therefore I am the go-to guide for entrepreneurs and business people wanting to optimize their health within the space I occupy. I built a significant personal brand in that space. It doesn't have to be huge in terms of followership or viewership per se. It just needs to be known in a niche, and as a byproduct of that, I've been able to acquire word of mouth referrals, a huge amount of inbound traffic for my business, and therefore scaled to multi-seven figures, which has been great. Another example of this, of course, would be Tim Grover. I doubt many individuals know who Tim Grover is or who he was in terms of the peak of his career, had he not worked with Michael Jordan. Tim Grover, of course, being Michael Jordan's physical trainer. But again, had he not occupied that role and therefore developed a career around working with Michael, I doubt he would have built such a significant personal brand and, of course, acquired the revenue, the funds, the career success that he has done so successfully since working with Michael. He is Michael Jordan's physical trainer. That's why we pay attention to the information he presents publicly, the books he's published, etc. Another example of this, of course, being Gary Brecker. Personally, and again, I'm an absolute nerd when it comes to individuals, authorities, creators in the health and fitness space. I'd never heard of Gary and his existence until, of course, I came across the fact that he had started creating content with Dana White, Grant Cardone, Cristiano Ronaldo, RFK. And you can see from his 3 pinned posts in a similar fashion to myself, but of course he's worked with individuals of more notoriety and fame. He's leaning into it, very much so. He is the individual that works with these celebrities, the A-listers, these people of huge influence and authority. And as a byproduct of that, we associate his partnership with these people as inferring that he is a credible source of information and expertise, and therefore if we were to work with him directly, whether it be through brand partnerships or working with him as a recipient of his services, we believe it to be reputable because, again, he's associating himself with people of huge fame and notoriety. Okay, so in terms of categories we addressed thus far of authorities in space, we've addressed medical professionals and doctors and people who've worked with notable clients. Now, of course, both categories are inaccessible to you if you're just starting out and you're not going through medical school, right? It's very difficult to gain access to people of fame and notoriety when you're first starting your career. And of course, unless you've been through medical school, you cannot claim you're a medical professional. So let's now take a look at a few examples of individuals who've leveraged the fame of others or topic matters of importance, significance, and relevance, and have also leveraged humor, satire, and aggression to build their personal brands, and done so very successfully. I don't mean that in a negative way in any capacity. I think they've done it very successfully. Let's use a perfect example here of James Smith. I love James's content. I've consumed it for years and years. James has done this very, very well. If we look at his most popular videos, he's using the name, the brands, the success, the fame, the notoriety of other individuals, other products, other brands to facilitate viewership and thus success, and therefore generate leads for his business, whether it be his business mentorship or his fitness app, or even, again, Newtonic now as well, any of his offerings. So again, in this instance, of course, he's leveraging Joe Rogan, Stephen Bartlett, Huberman as a kind of clickbaity title, Prime, testosterone use, creatine gummies, that's a banger of a video, Piers Morgan, Whoop, AG1, V-Shred, creatine. We can see all of his most popular videos in some capacity lean into the name of another individual who is arguably more famous than him, or a brand which has more viewership, more eyeballs on it, and therefore, of course, he rides the wave there, he rides the trend very successfully. He also, of course, sprinkles in a huge degree of humor and satire, and in some capacity aggression in terms of his desire to call individuals out, like this fitness influencer here. Haven't watched the full video, but he's calling them out, or Joe Wicks here, for example. But he does so very successfully because, again, he's debunking bullshit in the fitness space. So every respect in the world to him for doing so. You could argue that other individuals do so in a more less tasteful manner, like a Greg Doucette, for example. I think James does it very well, actually. But he's done this from the outset of his personal brand. And of course, the foundation of his personal brand very much was Instagram for years, until about 2 years ago when he started to produce content on YouTube. If we go to oldest, first upload 2 years ago, when of course he appreciated the importance of YouTube as a lead generation tool. But we can see here from the outset, he's a somewhat polarizing figure who calls out bullshit in the space, and he leans into notable topic matters that are deemed to be more important or more relevant than he was at the time. And therefore, as a byproduct of that, acquired tremendous success. And also, I like the approach he took. He made the fitness space as a whole perceived to be, or the perception of it, in terms of how he presented himself, was he takes himself less seriously than that of influencers who won't upload a photo unless it's perfectly edited, unless their abs are popping, etc. He's wearing a bloody bikini here, right? It's very clear that he doesn't take himself too seriously. And a lot of individuals, particularly in the UK specifically, really appreciate that. They like that. They appreciate and enjoy that self-deprecation, which is very rare in this space, whether it be the fitness and health space or arguably the make money space online also. So again, we've now, of course, discussed 3 categories thus far. Let's now look at the 4th category, which is experts. We're going to dive into 5 categories. But the next category, of course, is an individual with huge degree of expertise, not necessarily in the medical field per se, but Andrew Huberman here, of course, a neuroscientist, PhD. It's very difficult to compete with a human, / it's not possible, particularly if you're producing science-predicated content, right? It's just not going to be realistic unless, of course, you want to acquire a PhD and allocate years of your life to doing so to then compete with someone who's already built a formidable personal brand. In the same way that I would never try to compete with Jeff Nippard, right? And this is, of course, in the bodybuilding space as opposed to the health and well-being space, but I'm never going to try and compete with Jeff because it's going to be realistically not feasible. It's going to be impossible. He's the king of the science-based bodybuilding and lifting space. So why would I try to compete with him? He's built a huge audience, huge personal brand, who's featured recently on a Mr. Beast video. It's going to be stupid to try and compete with him. And the same degree that I'm not trying to compete with Andrew Huberman either. It's an unrealistic expectation to do so. So I need to then select a different category in which I can occupy, in which I perceive there to be less competition, to build my personal brand. Let's refer to Josh Brett here. Josh Brett has leveraged in some capacity James's approach, in which he leans into the names, topic matters of other individuals or other things of significant relevance at that moment in time. He's built a huge personal brand here, 503,000 YouTube subscribers, let alone his other social media platforms, and therefore has a huge abundance of leads for his fitness business, right? Really great example of this. Would we have known of Josh had he not done this? Probably not. No, because his content would have been content produced in a very similar manner to everyone else, in which they're referring to themselves, their own personal experiences, etc. And it's very difficult to do so unless you have something of notoriety about yourself or something unique about yourself in terms of the value you can provide, what you've achieved thus far in your career. And if you're starting out, you're a young person. I'm 27, for example. Josh, I believe, to be a little bit younger. We haven't achieved anything that significant yet, right? And therefore, why would anyone pay any attention to us if we're creating content just about ourselves? Okay, so again, another example, another category here. The 5th category I want to lean into or discuss is, of course, the category of irrefutable proof. Now, of course, Hormozi burst onto the scene 3 or 4 years ago now, perhaps starting from 2020. And he did so because he was building a business which is doing over 100 million per year. He still leans into that, even though he's doing more than that now. He was a jacked entrepreneur, which is extremely rare. Like, he looked like a bodybuilder wearing the lumberjack shirt, huge beard, cap, etc. He's an extremely notable figure and quite unique figure in the space relative to other individuals who occupy the make money online space, who are typically wearing suits, flexing in penthouses, watches, Lambos, girls, etc. Alex was doing none of that. He sat in a cupboard wearing a lumberjack shirt and a vest, was absolutely stacked, was generating more revenue than any of the other business gurus or mentors, and therefore, of course, his personal brand skyrocketed pretty quickly. I can refer to a few other examples. My friend Charlie as well. He's done over 30 million in sales, from his education business. That's irrefutable proof, and therefore people should put validity on the information he presents, hence his viewership, or hence the degree of viewership he acquires from most uploads, because again, he has achieved what he says he achieves, and therefore, of course, is perceived as an authority. Another example being a former client of mine, Ryan, as well. We can see from his description, his YouTube channel alone, that he's generated over $75 million in cash for his fitness business. So if you're in your right mind, you're going to pay attention to the information he publishes, and you're going to want to learn from him about how to make money, right? So again, the categories that I think you need to lean into if you're starting out in a space and you're wanting to build a successful fitness and health coaching or consulting business is either category of a medical professional or doctor, an individual that's worked with notable clients, an individual that leans into fame of others or topic matter of importance with humor, satire, aggression in some capacity, an individual that has significant expertise like a Huberman, or someone who can leverage irrefutable proof to back the information they're presenting publicly. But in order to do that, you would have had to have achieved something with your career and your life thus far. You can't just do that from the outset. So I personally think that's something which isn't paid attention to enough in this space. And when it comes to individuals starting to create content to generate leads and eyeballs to their business, they fail to acknowledge the importance of leaning into one of these categories. And therefore, they are perceived as being the same as everyone else. And no one chooses to watch their videos. No one perceives them to be particularly reputable, nor provide that much value to the lives of others. And therefore, their business fails to take off. So pretty short video, pretty simple premise here, but something which I think is extremely important. And I'd encourage all of you to acknowledge and pay attention to in order to build a successful fitness and health coaching business like I have done so over the last 8 years. To give you context for how I started with this, it was a little bit different. I was PTing in central London back in 2018, and I chose to aggressively reach out to as many individuals in my niche as possible who are prospects of mine. So individuals who operated successful online or brick and mortar businesses. I was sending about 300 messages per day in between my PT clients, and I was working in the gym from about 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. most nights. I'd have a gap between my morning and my afternoon clients, my evening clients, so I just spam outreach, and they were terrible messages. But as a byproduct of that, I was able to get the attention and acquire the attention of individuals who had already attained success in their careers and their businesses. And therefore, I started showcasing the fact that I work with them, and it snowballed pretty quickly. I hadn't produced a huge amount of content at the time. I wasn't particularly great at producing content at the time either. I didn't acknowledge the importance of everything I've just discussed thus far in this video. I was just producing content for the sake of producing content because I liked to do so, and I wanted to acquire eyeballs and viewership for my business, but hadn't done so that well. But it meant that I could lean into the fact that I had worked with individuals who were notable, and therefore, of course, provided validity to the service that I was developing and continue to develop, and therefore also put a degree of authority on my name and my offer, which resulted in acquisition of clients pretty easily. So just to give you a little bit of context there. But yeah, if you guys got any questions, of course, drop them in the comment section down below. If you're interested in working with me personally, click the link in my description. It'll take you to Peak Business Systems in school, in which I work with individuals to help them facilitate growth and scale with their fitness and health coaching and consulting businesses. I've made the product as cheap as I possibly can do, and I work with the clients in the one-to-one capacity. So if you are interested, definitely check that out. And I shall catch you guys in the next one.